Hello guys and welcome back. I'm officially back from a short holiday, so I left for about a week and a half. So everything is doing well. There were no major issues, there were no deaths, no problems whatsoever. It's just this Monte Carlo tank right here. It needs a little bit of maintenance. When I leave for the holidays, there are a few things I do before I leave to make sure that, there's not going to be any underlying issues. So what I do is I water change. I also scrape the glass of the tanks, and if I do need to, if it's summer, if it's getting really hot, what I do is I dim the lights. So I turn the lights down around 40 to 30%, and that's just to kind of counteract evaporation. So we can see on the Monte Carlo tank, there has been very, very little evaporation in a week and a half. So that's pretty good because I had dimmed the light down, and what you can see is there's a lot of dust algae. This is just dust algae that I'm gonna scrape off. And the tank also needs the filter clean out because the filter is clogged. There's absolutely no water flow here, which is not a good thing in this kind of warmer weather, especially in a shrimp tank. And I'm also going to be addressing this massive pile of Monte Carlo here. It does need a trim back. It's going to be a pretty easy fix. So I'm going to start off by scraping all the algae off the glass. Then I'm going to be trimming this overgrown Monte Carlo. I can't believe it's actually grown so much. When I left, it was overgrown, obviously, but not as much as this. So in a week and a half, it has grown a decent amount. And then after that, I'm going to be doing a water change and cleaning out the filter. I do think this is going to be a pretty satisfying clean. Okay, so that's the glass cleaning complete. Now I'm just going to start trimming. So for trimming carpeting plants, I like to use two types of scissors. So I like to use your standard curved scissors, but what's really good, what makes it faster, efficient, and also less tiring and easier to maneuver is these small spring-loaded scissors. So I really like using these, especially when I have small tanks like this. It's just a lot easier to maneuver than a big pair of scissors sometimes. Forgot to clean the corners of the tank, so I'm going to do that quickly before I trim. So I'm just using a toothbrush that I've bent with a lighter. I find that's what works really well for me. We can really see how much the Monte Carlo has grown because it's completely swallowed some of the rocks. It's just completely grown over, and it looks great, but I think it's time for a trim. Also look at this front section, how much it's grown. There's a good 3 to 4 centimeters of Monte Carlo here. So I'm going to go straight in with the small spring-loaded scissors, especially in this front section. It's just going to be easier to maneuver. I'm going to show you guys the difference after. So I'm going to give this front section a little scrape so I can see what I'm doing because there's a little bit of algae here. So I can really get my baseline right. So you can see the difference of height between the two sections, which is quite a lot. So I don't know if you guys can see too well, but there are places where It's slightly more yellow than others, and that's where the Monte Carlo was the longest and the most dense. What that's done, it's completely occulted light to this specific spot, this one as well. If I would have left it maybe a couple of weeks longer, you can be sure that would have completely melted away. There's a little bit of rot there as well, which I'm going to fix, but it's going to bounce back. But that's also why you don't want to be like me and you want to trim your carpeting plants often. So now I'm just going in with the curved scissors, especially for the back sections where I have a little bit more room. And this is a lot faster than the little incurved pair where I was just snipping away. I'm going to go in with my fine mesh net. This is probably going to be the most tedious part because sometimes the shrimp do climb on top, so I will be checking just in case. Obviously going to have to water change as well after this because with the glass cleaning and all this cutting, so much debris. You can see how much the filter is actually clogged because there's no water movement whatsoever. So that's everything I pulled out, and there's so much of it. So just for a reminder, that is an 11-litre tank, so that's about 2.8 gallons. So that's a lot of plants for such a small tank. So it's going to be important in the next few weeks to a month to really watch the light to make sure there's no algae breakout. With such a massive trim back, the plants are going to take a good month to recover. So I get a lot of questions asking what do I do with all my trimmings. So most of my trimmings go into holding tanks that I have, and if I don't have any use for them, they go onto my compost pile. So technically with this much Monte Carlo, I could actually replant it, but I really don't have the use for it right now. So this is going to go onto my compost pile. So I'm going to do a quick tidy up before I do the water change. So I think I'm going to quickly brush some of the rocks because it just looks silly. We can see where the Monte Carlo was growing. So I'm going to quickly brush it. The goal here is not to take all the algae off the rocks, it's just to take off that sharp line that really looks silly. Just kind of blend it in, and that will do. Okay, so the goal here is not to overdo it to make it extra clean. It's just to unclog it. So why the filter was clogged is because I use floss to polish the water, because the sponges, just dropped everything, the sponges weren't actually that dirty. So I wanted to do a time lapse, a cool time lapse of me filling up the bucket for the water change. But I kicked over my rig and I've literally just snapped my light. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for maintenance. It's looking kind of rough right now. I promise that in a month it's going to be looking a lot better. It's going to be a lot of new growth and all this yellow is going to be gone. So like I said earlier, there's a few spots where there's kind of some rot. So you have a few options for that. It's either you could leave it, you can scrape it away, and as the plants grow in, it's just going to cover that space back up. Or you could take some of the cuttings, especially mine that were very long, and just plug those areas where the plant has rotten away. So personally, I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to see if it bounces back. And if it doesn't in those small areas, well, it will just take a little bit more time to grow over. And that's it for this week's video. So guys, I will see you next week. Next week, I will be starting the new scape, which is the woodland scape. Very excited to start.